and watching that was really hard. And I was really kind of, I was a bit angry that it kind of got edited like that.
Oh, there was no question. I just said you were really funny.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I appreciate it. I just lost. I thought I was like, oh, what did Matt ask? But no, thank you for complimenting me. I appreciate it.
And so one of the things that from that episode that was a little bit, I guess, juicy or whatever, was the other team, particularly Beverly, from the way it was shown, with she was sort of her and Kong were having a bit of a backwards and forwards, and it seemed very sort of like she was quite a bit upset that it felt like she wasn't picked and that you three didn't want to be with them, and it came up a few times. Was that how it was in reality, the way it was shown on TV, or was it edited to look a different way?
It was, it was tough, because I think Queen felt sort of that she was being her sentiment and her nature was being questioned, and like Queen was just giving her, Beverly some sort of home truths, I suppose, as we all were. Beverly was kind of trying to be a bit of a smartass, and in the drag world, when when you bark, you've got to expect to bark back. Like that's just what it is. And Beverly, I think the thing that really kicked it off was that Beverly started muttering things and being really quiet. But we were all like, you may as well just say it out loud because we're all going to watch the show and we're all going to see what you said. So just say it. And you know what? Kudos to her. She did. And it just wasn't very well received. But yeah, I suppose the thing with the situations like that is that we're all in this environment where every little thing is heightened by 100%. Every little irritation or someone just being annoying just really grinds you more so than it would in the real world because you can't really go anywhere. You're just stuck there with them. And so that I think that's why, reality shows are so much fun because, these people are trapped in this situation. So, yeah, it was heated, but it all kind of, we would just made sure that we were there for Queen in our group because that was our focus. And I'm assuming the other girls were there for Beverly. And I'm glad that they got to talk it out and sort of, air their grievances the next day because yeah, we had a show to do and the show does not stop for anybody's feelings, so you just have to get on with it. And I was very proud of Queen. She did such a good job.
Yeah, it was a great challenge. It was great, and with stuff like that, obviously the whole point of the show is they want you to do something that's a bit dramery. Otherwise, it wouldn't be very interesting. So
Yeah.
you've got to have a little bit of not forced tension, but obviously everything you said, everything's heightened. So you're drag queens in a competition. You're going to have a disagreement at some point, and it's on camera, so it just looks more than it would in the real world, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
So obviously, yeah. So you all three of you won. So that was your second win. And then you went into the next week, which was the hometown
Oh,
challenge.
yes. Oh, this was a moment, wasn't it? Far out.
Your your ad was, I don't even know what words I can use to describe it, but it was so funny, but also bizarre, and just I it was the I honestly was like, what did I just watch? But I loved it.
Oh,
I didn't.
I'm so glad. That day was just bizarre. We got into the workroom and we got told what the challenge was. That we had to do market our hometown. So we all kind of pre-planned uh, sort of ideas of what we wanted to say in our ads. And we all thought that it was showcasing monuments or things or touristy things. Like it was a tourist ad, so we wanted to showcase that. And we all had these plans. We thought they were great. And then when Rue comes in, she just threw a big sledgehammer into that concoction and was like, "No, I don't want to see any of this. I don't like any of your ideas. I want to see you. I want to see your version of the place you're from." And I was like, "Oh, well, what's my version of my place where I'm from?" And it just so happened that Minnie, when I first moved to Sydney, kept calling me Hannah from Middle Perth. And I was like, maybe I utilised the Middle Perth angle we've just done these Hobbit situations. And my aesthetic is very, sort of ethereal, fairy tale. I was like, this is like perfect. Or perfect as as the case may be. Branding. So I kind of planned out this whole thing. Black swan is the national bird of Western Australia, or Perth, and I, was like, they're vicious. I don't know if you've ever tried to feed a swan. We used to do that with my grandma as a kid. We used to go down to the foreshore and bring bread for the birds, and if you don't give them the bread quickly, they chase you. So I was like, I need to fight a black swan. That's a peril. Everyone kept talking about how big my lips are, so I was like, I'm going to be the princess that needs to have kissable lips, and the only way you can get kissable lips is from a magical beach, obviously. And the beaches in Perth are really hot and really beautiful. So it's like, it all just kind of came together. When I was filming it, though, Michelle was like, kind of how you maybe felt, was like, this is funny, but it's also very confusing and bizarre. And so I just kind of said to Michelle, trust the process. I'm hopeful that this will all work out. And with all the editing and stuff, because that kind of got brought... Oh, no, I've spilt water everywhere. It's okay, babes. We're fine. We're fine. I just get myself really wet sometimes. I digress. So, Michelle was like, oh, it's probably best that you tell the editors sort of what you want to do so you can sort of condense your ideas, because I had a lot of ideas and a lot of things happening. I knew what I wanted, but it was a lot. So that's when I went in and wrote these pages and pages of editing notes for the editors, because I was like, as much information as I can give them, hopefully they get it. I actually thought it was just going to be a stock image of a swan, like a still stock image of a swan. I still thought that would be really funny to watch me fight a still stock image, but when they made it move, I was like, the powers of technology. And it turned out fabulous. I loved it.
It was a great ad. It was so, I think the judges even said it. You made use of the whole technology element of it. It was so funny, and it was bizarre but funny. The bit where you were fighting the swan, I was dying. It was so funny, and I was like, she's winning. There's no way she's not winning.
I did go into that runway thinking that, because you don't see it and you don't know what the final product is until you're on the runway. And I watched who was before me. It was Queen's, who I loved it. I laughed. Spanky's was wildly camp and out there. And I was like, oh, Spanky again, she's got another win. And then when I saw mine, I was like, okay, maybe I can hold my own in this challenge. I was like, and Molly's was cute. And Bev's I didn't care for, as we all know. So by the time we'd finished on the runway and we walked back into Untucked, I was like, I felt confident. So I think the only thing that I found, interesting when I was rewatching the show, because I felt like my swimwear, because it was a swimwear runway, I felt my swimwear was sort of sort of an unusual but really cool take on it, but it was so divisive. People did not like my swimwear, and I was like, I'm doing this for the people that like to wear, a full coverage. I was like, full coverage, but haven't you heard of a wetsuit? Come on. I was so confused. I was like, there are full body. I didn't want to wear another bathing suit, because I knew that's what everyone was going to do. And I took it to my own realm, but apparently the Drag Race fandom at that point in time really did not care for my swimsuit.
I thought it was really fun. I guess it didn't scream swimsuit, but I was like, it looks like you said. I was like, well, it's a wetsuit when it's got the cone bra almost, like the neon thing. I was like, it's an unusual take. You probably couldn't swim in it, but it still looks swim adjacent.
Yeah, and I had floaties. It's sun smart, it's sun safe, and it's water safe. I would not drown.
I thought it was fun. I was like, she's gonna. It was. I guess if you just come out in a bathing suit, everyone would have complained that it was just bathing suits. So it's kind of.
Yeah.
Um, and so speaking of, you kind of mentioned this earlier a little bit when you didn't care for Beverly's ad, and then in Untucked, obviously I think the moment between you and Beverly was very intense, and I think that was probably one of your only real dramas on the show because you didn't really ever have drama with that many people, or not that we saw, but that was the one moment that kind of was very intense. What did that feel like in the moment?
Incidents, but I
Just stop, please stop telling me how to act, Hannah. I'm so sick of it. F off.
Well, I got told through the whole sort of filming process by the producers, they're like, oh, Hannah, your ass must be sore because you're always sitting on the fence. Because I don't care for the drama. I don't care. Like, I'm just there to have a good time and enjoy myself. And, I think the thing with poor Bev, and we're fine now, like, we are so fine. It was a heat of the moment situation. It flared up earlier in the day because she kind of asked why RuPaul doesn't see her or doesn't understand her. And I'd kind of been noticing that, when the cameras were around, she was a little bit more, without being horrible, a bit more performative. And I just kind of felt like if you were a little bit more natural and more relaxed, and just because the Bev that was in the car and stuff like that when we're traveling, or the Bev that I sort of had seen online previously, I was like, you're a lot of fun. You don't have to be anything but you. I just felt she's young, she's learning, and she, was just trying to be what she thought she needed to be for the show. And unfortunately, at that point in the competition, that got like really grating on me, and I really struggle with those kinds of things. I like people to be authentic, and when I don't see that, and I don't care about what the age, it could be a 3-year-old not being authentic, and I would get irritated. It just kind of started grating on me, and when she was pushing back and not really listening, and that was the other thing, she wasn't listening to what I was saying, and I was very, very calm. It didn't look like it in the episode because it was chopped out, but I was sort of very calm in the way that I was approaching it. And then when she sort of pushed back and didn't listen, that's when I snapped, because I was like, you're not listening. You're not taking this in. And so that was the initial fight. But then the one in Untucked, again, it was again a very calm thing. We were having a sort of civilized conversation. And then I kind of felt like at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be here tomorrow. It's better to just get it out now. Be that to my detriment in that episode. I was like, I started the conversation and I opened the can of worms and it just got heated and I just started yelling. But then I felt bad, like, that I did that, and I think we all saw me trying to backpedal and, like, take my foot out of my mouth. But, I was just feeling how I was feeling, and I want the best for her. I think what didn't help me within the editing situation is that, like, they made me and Spanky look like polar opposites in the way that we dealt with things. But I'm very similar with the way, like, I come from a caring space. I come from a place of love, and, I just want the best for her. And yeah, sometimes that can come out a little bit forceful, but then to pair it with Spanky's kind of like calming sort of, Zen way of being, it just made me look like an absolute asshole, which is interesting, because it's not me, and watching that was really hard, and I was really I was a bit angry that it kind of got edited like that, because, and I think we can all see if we watch the episode that when I screamed at Beverly when I'm on the couch, it was chopped. You could see a clear chop in that edit. And it was like I was mid-sentence. And I was mid-sentence. I'm sorry, Bev. Like, I know I come on a little bit strong in this instance, but I just...
Just stop, please stop telling me how to act, Hannah.
And that irritated me, because I was like, you've made me look like this horrible asshole person to this poor kid. And Like, and just as I suspected, the fans were like, "You're a bully, you're nasty, you're horrible. Like, how dare you yell at Beverly?" And I'm like, A, we're on a TV show. B, you don't have to sit in the fucking room with her for the whole time and be frustrated. And C, that's my experience in that moment. I'm allowed to have one moment. Oh, and sorry, I'm on a ramble, Matt, but the other thing was, watching it back, my mum and I are very, very similar. We never really combust. I never have moments. I have to get pushed to a point like really, really far to explode. And I was pushed and I'd had enough. So to get to that point, I just need to get it out and then I'm fine. And my mum was watching it and she said, when the girls were telling you to stop, she was getting mad for me because she knew in myself all I needed to do was just get it out. But because I'd already gone so far with Bev and it was a mess, I think if I kept going, it would have been worse. But she's like, I just hate when people tell us to stop.
Well, so obviously it's a family trait from the Conda family.
Yeah, the Conda family. We don't combust, but when we do, we go off.
I think that's the same for a lot of Queens, to be honest. And I think, again, you got to remember, it's a TV show. It's highly edited, like you said. And I never judge a Queen based on a TV show or an edit. So I always keep an open mind. And I watched it, and obviously it was uncomfortable. And obviously Beverly was very upset that week. And I thought, yeah, she's probably just in her feelings, and it wasn't the best time to bring it up. But we don't know the backstory about what happened earlier that day or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess in the moment, you could tell you felt bad and you were sort of like stopping and you were sort of, you could tell it was just, it wasn't meant, you weren't meaning to make her cry or anything.
Yeah.
So how is your relationship like with her now?
Oh, great. We've been on tour together and we've been having a great time. I like to go into the room now because she was in the other changing room and I went in there and I was like, stop it, Beverly! Come and give me a hug. And I bring her in and we have a cuddle. Like, I love Bev and she's such a talented kid. And again, like, she is done so many wonderful things at her age. And, I'm really proud of her. And, again, I tried to operate out of a place of love because I just want her to be the best that she can be because she's sensational. And, and like you said, everything is not as it seems on reality television. God forbid, like it's crazy. But they don't see that we're kind of just stuck in a room together for this period of time. And anyone would go a little bit nutso if something was irritating you, and it just gets to that moment where you just kind of have to let it out. And especially when you got people going, oh, what's everyone feeling? Especially after the situation, we've just thrown her under the bloody bus. And I just told her that I didn't like her ad. Oh my God. That's the producers like wet dream. They're like, come on, talk about that. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's go.
Again, it was obvious from the edit, everyone said Beverly to go, as in who should go home or whatever.
Who should go home tonight? And why?
But I have to say Beverly Kills.
Unfortunately, I'd have to say Beverly Kills as well, but I have to echo with what these two said.
Tonight, it just was the weakest one for me. So Bev.
And it was obvious that that's the storyline they wanted. They want drama. They want, it was obvious that was what was going to happen. So obviously not nice to watch on TV, but you've got to remember that it is a TV show, and you and Beverly, I'm sure, are fine, and like you've talked about, and I'm sure it's like water off a duck's back or whatever. So it's so no, it was a great episode, and obviously that was your third win.
Yeah,
very well deserved as well. So then going into the next challenge, which was the makeover challenge, so that you had the men from the same family, it was like the son and the uncle and the dad and everything. How did that feel when you knew it was going to be a makeover challenge?
I was fine with the makeover challenge. I'd actually just done an Instagram TV, like IGTV series with a friend of mine, an influencer here, and I was putting people into drag, so I was not fazed by a makeover challenge at all. So I was really excited. And then when the game was paper, scissors, rock to decipher who gets who, and everyone kind of, the ones with smoother skin got taken away, and then you had two gentle fellows who had definitely seen a considerable amount of time on this earth I was a bit nervous, and I was like, oh, we can do some pulleys, some rigging, you know, tighten their skin back up a little bit. It turns out that that is not so easy, especially when one has sensitive skin. And so I just kind of was like, you know what, again, this is how it was meant to be. I've got Dad. And to be fair, I did pick him. Okay, so I picked Tony, the dad, because he reminded me of my dad. And I was like, if my dad was here, I would love that. But also, I could see there was something in Paul's eyes that was just so spanky. And I could have been an absolute asshole and gone, no, I'm going to take Paul for myself. But there was a connection there that I could see Spanky looking at him and him looking at her. And I was like, I don't want to be that girl. I'm not going to be that girl. So I will take the dad, and hopefully, you know, what my idea was is that the magic of drag usually brings people out of their shell. And as I was putting him into drag, the more drag that went on, the more sort of into his shell he went. And I was like, this is not how it usually goes. Usually they get more excited, but I was trying and I was like, come on, Tony, let's go. Like, you know, it's going to be fun. And he just kind of receded a little bit more. And as the makeup went on, I thought he was looking pretty good. The lighting is very different in the workroom to what it is on stage. And I thought when Tony left, I was like, you looked presentable. Is it my finest work? No. But you look cute. And considering that when I started drawing his eyebrow on, I kind of pulled his skin up a little bit tighter to like draw the eyebrow. And when I let it go, the eyebrow just went into the into the fold of his skin. And I said to Kween, I turned to Kween, I was like, girl, have you ever drawn an eyebrow in the fold of someone's skin? And she's just cacking herself laughing. And I was laughing. Poor Tony wasn't laughing, but I was laughing. And, you know, so considering that I lost an eyebrow on the journey, I was happy with the final product. It was best that I could do. And he had a dicky knee and wanted to wear these like massive platform shoes. And I was like, you've got a shitty knee. You can't walk in these. You can barely walk in the flats you've walked in with. How are you going to wear these massive high heels? So we settled for the kitten heel, which again, Rue doesn't like, but I was like, I'm not going to kill this poor for the sake of my challenge. Sorry. But yes, when he got out on the stage, it was actually only in watching it when I realised how, like, pale he looked.
Well, at least you went, oh, it was, that challenge, I loved it. It was so fun because all the guys seemed really cool and down for it. Some of them, like you said, like Tony was a lot more reserved. So I did think, oh yeah, that could be an issue. And he did come out looking slightly, probably paler than you had anticipated. But I thought they all were so sweet and so up for it, and it was really heartwarming to see when you were talking about he reminds you of your dad. I was like, oh yeah, I can appreciate that he comes across like that. And I thought you two you didn't really get that many negative critiques, really. Like everyone was so close, apart from Kong, who clearly sort of smashed it out of the park.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really fun episode. You all weren't taking it too seriously. You were all just like having a fun time, and you know. Obviously, unfortunately, you fell in the bottom that week against your Hobbit sister Molly.
Yeah.
Did you think that was deserved?
Look, I'm an eternal optimist, so I went in there hoping that there was going to be 4 spots in the finale, and they were going, because that's a brutal challenge to get eliminated on just before the finale. So I was hoping they were going to go, hey, just jokes, you're all coming. But when we walked out, I could see on the floor there was only markers for 3 spaces, and I was like, okay, so someone's going home today, and I knew at that point Kween had won. That was given. Again, Spanky's charisma just once again shines so bright, and and Paul did such a great job, and like they worked really well together, and so she was kind of, I just kind of got to the point where I knew they wanted Spanx in the finale, which is, rightly so. She was amazing and incredible, and I just knew that that's kind of where they were taking it. So I just knew that Molly and I were going to be in the bottom. I knew it. I just knew it. And it was an end of our storyline as well, together as like the little hobbits and stuff. So I was like, this is perfect. And yeah, it was a bit heartbreaking. I love the song. But would it be my song of choice to perform in that outfit? No. I felt a little bit restricted by my costume, but you've just got to do what you've got to do. Because it's, it's now been rated one of the worst lip syncs of our season. It was like, you, like, all these people that do these lists, honestly, like some of the judgments that these people have, I'm like, you do it. And we got given the song like the day before, and I kind of knew it. Like a little bit, like I knew, like I'd listened to it because I liked it, but it was one of those ones I never really kind of, performed before or thought about performing. It was one of the ones you play in the car. So when that was the song that they picked, because there was another song, I can't remember what the other song was, and I liked the other song better, but I can't remember what it was. But anyway, there was another song, and so we just got told the day before, and I was like, now I've got to learn this. And like try and sell it convincingly as a witch. Like, come on. So anyway, I gave it my, a red hot go, and yeah, I felt really bad because I was like, sorry Molly, you're going home. That's what I said in my head. I said, Molly, you're going home. Sorry.
I think from the track record, I thought, yeah, it's probably Molly's time. Like, she was great, but I thought if it's going to be just 3, then because of track record, probably it was you were the one that was going to win. I think it was a difficult lip sync, like you said, to because it's a mid-tempo song. It's not really upbeat and it's not super emotional. It's somewhere in the middle, and that's often the hardest, I think.
Yeah, and it's also like for my like performing. I've said I'm a park and bark. I said that to deceive the kids, but I can dance and hold my own. But also, some songs don't need to be danced to, and there's like, I prefer when I'm performing to tell the story of the song, and that doesn't mean that I come out like, a bull out of the pen and just go for like hell for leather and go crazy. I like to have levels, and I don't know if that necessarily works on, when it's filmed, because, they want the, where's your flips, where's your cartwheels, where's your dips and your wig reveals and all that. But I was like, that's not me. That's not what I do. So I always said if I was going to lip sync, I'd do it the way that I want to lip sync, and I'd try to tell the story of the song. Yeah,
I think you definitely did it your way, and it's a difficult song to perform. It's never going to be, you were never going to be like Kong and Beverly the week before when they were doing like crazy acrobatics. And so, yeah. One question I had, maybe a slightly controversial question, was do you think, you mentioned earlier, obviously it was the end of your storyline with Molly, the 2 hobbits. Do you think in some way that they deliberately put you 2 in the bottom because they wanted to see the 2 hobbits sort of fight it out? Do you think that was any part of it?
I think there's got to be an element of it. Like, that was sort of something that had come up previously in other episodes after the Hobbit thing. So I was like, oh, yeah, it kind of makes sense. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of their sort of, reasonings for putting me in the bottom. Because I struggle watching it back. I don't necessarily feel like I deserve to be in the bottom. But then I don't want to say that Spanky deserved to be in the bottom either, because, it's tough. It's just the way that the design of the show, But yeah, I definitely think there was an element of that. It was a good, because I don't think Spanky lip syncing against Molly would have meant anything. Whereas me lip syncing against Molly, that had that element of the fact that we were duet partners at the brunch. So yeah.
For me, when I watched it, I thought it's probably going to be you 2, because you 2, like, apart from Spanky, arguably got the worst critiques because obviously Kong did so well. So it was kind of between you other three. And I thought for the storyline, if I was a producer,
yeah, you'd be like, put
probably
those two little in and let them go. Fair and fair.
Yeah, definitely. And it was still a fun lip sync, and I thought it was, it's the lip sync that you can do with a song like that,
Yeah.
And unfortunately, obviously, you had to send Molly packing.
Yeah.
And then that means you got into the final. So you were in the final three. What did it feel like being a finalist on Drag Race Down Under?
Oh my God. It was surreal. I didn't go into the show. I walked in feeling like a winner because I made it that, through the audition. I got to New Zealand and I got to come to the set. That was me completing the goal. To get to the finale, though, that was one of those moments where I was like, wow, this is now I can take the sort of that next step, which is okay, well, let's complete the journey and, have a kick-ass experience. I've done all the challenges, I've done all that I could do, and I think I did really well at them. So I was really proud of myself. And all I knew, and for Kween and Spanky and myself, all we wanted to do was just have fun that last episode. It didn't matter who won. And I know that, again, this is probably not a producer's, idea of a great, ending, that, the three champions, as it were, don't really care who wins. But we just didn't. And I still don't. They're my sisters and I was proud of them. The win was, getting there and then being there at the end with them. And yeah, so that was interesting. On the last day, they're like, someone needs to say that they want it more than the other. And we're like, I don't care. I don't care. So I'm pretty sure most of all the sound bites of us going, I want that crown. I want that crown. I want that crown. That was all from earlier. Because we were giving them nooch. We were like, no, we don't care. And it's I suppose it's something different. Because, always you get that in Drag Race. So why can't we just be a fun group of girls that is here and however the cookie crumbles, it goes? You know what I mean? It was interesting.
Yeah, you could tell that you three got on really well and you were friends. And I did kind of, watching it, you didn't get that kind of cutthroat attitude like you get with some other seasons. I was like, I don't think any of them really care that much. Maybe they want the money, but they all seem like such friends. It's like three sisters hanging out or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you go into the finale, though, thinking that you would win? How confident were you that you were going to win?
I think halfway through watching the season, I was like, oh, there's a chance of me winning. Because if truth be told, the second that I got announced and I knew that I was deemed controversial by the fan base to a degree, which I think, kind of died down after, we had the episode where I talked about stuff with Kween. I was like, okay, maybe people will come around to me and, maybe it could be a possibility. But watching the finale, it was the fact that I actually kind of felt a little bit gypped in the finale, if I'm honest. I felt like by the end, I just knew it was the Jaffa lunch that I knew I'd not won. It was because they didn't even offer me the Jaffa. I was like, but I did get offered the Jaffa, and we had such a great conversation, Rue and Michelle, about so much, and it was just all gone. Everything about I went into the finale hoping that I would showcase, they would showcase a bit more of my personality and a bit more of my story, because as I was watching the season, I felt like there was a lot of my story cut. And when I was on the runway and stuff and they were doing critiques, Spanky was always bouncing back with them and Minnie was bouncing back with them. But I was doing the same thing. I had them in stitches and I was making them laugh, but it all got cut and I looked like a robot. I felt like a bit like just standing there and going, oh, thank you. And I was like, well, I was making them laugh and I was enjoying it. And that was hard watching that because I was like, you've cut out my personality and some of my story that I hoped that it would be there in the finale. And when the finale came out, and I'm by no means saying that my edit was bad or I'm anything like that. but like the whole idea of me being this perfect, polished, put together, you know, no flaws, does everything perfectly kind of idea of who I was really sort of hard to swallow, because I'd been doing therapy to try and sort of squash this idea of perfection. And I was saying that as I was going through it, I was like, yes, I'm good at what I do, and I really like to put my best foot forward, and I like to make sure that everything I do is of a really high quality. But I'm unafraid to fail. I'm unafraid to, you know, fall down by the wayside a little bit. And like, you know, I'm, you know, just because things don't go the way that they're meant to go, you know, like I'm really kind of trying to challenge this idea of perfection. And so I was saying this through the whole season, but then it was exactly what they gave me in the edit. And they said, she's perfect, she polishes this. And it just got me so angry, because I was like, I've been trying to challenge this. And I was saying this through the whole season, that this is what I'm trying to challenge and showcase me more as a human being rather than a robot. And when it came out, I was so angry. I was like, what the You've cut everything out again of me as a person. So I knew I wasn't winning. And I rang the therapist the next day, and I was like, why did they do this? And she's like, maybe it's the perfectionist in you that's having this reaction. And I was like, how dare you? Yes, it is, probably. But, so it's very multi-layered. I have a love-hate relationship with the finale. I love it because I got to do it with Kween and Spanky, and I love our song, and I loved everything about it. But also, I was a bit, because they made me look like I didn't really know my choreography very well at points, and I was like, I was on fire that day, and they just cut. It was a weird cut. I wanted more wide shots, but here I am nitpicking and trying to produce the show. But what do I know?
No, I think everyone's going to love your brutal honesty, because, yeah, it did come across slightly robotic in the sense that, yeah, like they didn't show that much of your person. Like, you were funny and you were really polished on the runway, but if you look at the season, for someone who got to the finale, you didn't actually have always that much face time and screen time. They did kind of, I can see what you're saying about them cutting you out of a lot of stuff, and it must be disappointing when you have an idea of, you know, what actually happened in real life when you were there, and then what gets shown is completely different. So unfortunately, I guess that's just editing and the show.
Editing, yeah, and you know, they've got a narrative of what they want to share. I think the hard thing, and that what made me feel kind of a little bit sort of betrayed by the situation, is that, you know, and I suppose this happens with all reality TV, is that they break you to a point where they get you to share some really, really hard, difficult things, and share these stories about your life. And I'm an open book. Like, I hope I've showed you today. Like, I talk about anything. And I shared a lot of stuff about my life and about my family and about my friends, and stuff that I think is important for people to hear and know about. And I let my guard down a lot with them, and they got me to a complete mess a couple of times, you know, just by sort of getting these stories out of me. And then I felt like, oh, it's all for nothing. Like, what did you want it for? Like, you know, because you must have, to the point where, like, as the episodes went on, and they sort of started having a clearer vision of who's going to be there in the finale. You know, I don't know, why would you torture someone with, you know, going through their childhood traumas if you didn't want to use it, or you didn't, well, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very tough pill to swallow, is that you go in there thinking that you're showing them everything about you, and then they make you look like a bit of a robot. And I found that very, very challenging. And I think, like, coming out of the show and now living in the real world where it's done, and it's, you know, I'm a part of the show's done and whatever, and we're touring, I feel like it's now hard for me to sort of navigate this space, you know, with the character that they've created of who I am, and trying to navigate, you know, people's perceptions of me. And I found it very interesting being on tour that, you know, people go, oh, you're very different to what I thought you were going to be like, or you're so much nicer, or you're more funny in person. And I find that really difficult, because that's always who I've been. It's now just because the show's shown me this way, I'm now like, oh, now I have to try and write that sort of idea of what people have of me in their brains when I meet them, you know, which is an extra layered challenge.
Yeah, it's a bit like getting the villain edit, but in reverse, that you were kind of given the non-existent edit or the robot edit.
Yeah, and I feel like I think there's been queens like that I've seen, you know, like for the UK, like Ella Day, like she's not like anything like she is on the show. I met her and I was like, you're really fun and fabulous, but she kind of got that like, you're perfect, you're polished, you're too good at everything. You know what I mean? And I don't like, I don't know, but they always like a fixer-upper on Drag Race, don't they? And maybe I'm just, I don't know. Maybe they can fix me up in an All-Stars. I don't know.
I think, yeah, definitely. I think I could tell there was more to you than what they showed. And it's, you can't judge a queen by the way they edit you, whether it's a villain edit or like a robot edit, whatever. You've got to sort of meet the queen and actually speak to them to know what they're like and everything. So I guess you still got to the finale. That's still such an achievement. And obviously a bit of shame you didn't get the edit that you wanted, but I guess at least you didn't get a villain edit.
Well, that's true.
Maybe on some of the edits,
Well, I had a moment, but I did go in and I was like, oh no, there's no way they can make me a villain. I'm too nice. But we saw anything is possible, kids.
Yeah, you were so entertaining on the show, and I think they obviously Drag Race. They want to make it easy for the audience. They want to make it like she's the villain, she's the polished one, They always want to make it like very two-dimensional because it's easy for people to understand. So without that, it's difficult. You know, I'm not sure they think it's going to be easy to watch if everyone's so multifaceted. They kind of want everyone to be a cardboard cutout of that thing. Yeah.
100%.
But you did really well. You were so fun. I really enjoyed you, and you should be so proud that you got to the final 3.
Oh, I am, and that's the thing. For all the and moaning, I think, you know, I think because it's so fresh still, I think I'm just kind of going through the motions of what it feels like to be in the world now that it's all done. But I am very grateful for it, and like, you know, very, you know, honoured to be able to call Spanky and Kween like my best friends, and you know, I love them to bits, and I'm so grateful that is the relationship that I got to come out of Drag Race with, like to the point where I've been away from them for it's been a day and I can't cope. I'm like, where are my other limbs? Where are they? So I you know, for all the you know, the complaining I have just done, I am very grateful for the experience, and I did honestly truly love making the show. It was so much fun. I was thriving. Like, you know, to go from a place of like complete and utter depression and anxiety to then being there and doing it and filming, I was so proud of myself getting out of it, and because I had the best time, and I felt like I flourished and you know, sort of reignited my love of drag again.
I'm really glad you got that experience out of it, and I think we as an audience, or at least I can speak for myself, I really enjoyed you on the show. Your looks were always amazing, you were funny, you seemed very personable, so I really enjoyed you on the show. So obviously I'm very glad that you were on the show, and
Thanks,
you know, I thought you were going to be in the top 3 from the start. You were one of I thought the top 3 was probably the top 3 I actually picked from the start.
Oh, I love that. Good on you, Matt.
Because you were all good. Like, you walked in and I was like, yeah, that's the funny one, that's the polished one. You know, you can kind of tell what someone's going to be like and how they're going to navigate it. So I really liked you, all 3 of you, but you specifically, I really enjoyed you on the show.
Oh, thanks, darling.
So obviously we've already kind of spilt some tea, but obviously the name of my channel is Drag Tea Served. So I was wondering if you could serve us some drag tea that you haven't already for the tea bags out there. Is there something that happened behind the scenes or off camera, or something you wish had been shown, something like that, a moment that maybe didn't make it in?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, I think like that, like, not to like throw my beautiful sister under the bus, but the Mini Cooper arc of the show was definitely different to how I felt it went. It was a full like multi-part series where I was like, who's gonna be going up against the Coops this week? But it was so entertaining to sort of watch, because I wasn't involved. I just sat back and I just kind of saw it all unfold. But it was very, very entertaining, that whole thing. But I actually think like there was a few, moments with Minnie that were just so entertaining to me. Like some of her walkthroughs were just like wildly entertaining, and I enjoyed those. And some of the walkthroughs got cut, which was interesting. Where we did one for the acting challenge, and that was gone. We did that just disappeared. But that was a really good walkthrough. And Rue was like in stitches again with all of us, and us talking about our characters, and Minnie talking about how she was like unwatchable and stuff like that. That was really entertaining and so much fun. What else there was? Oh, yes, I know the one thing that I personally, for me, I felt gypped that was cut out. I started this thing where I was like playing dead on different like set pieces in the thing, and they were filming me walking around the room going, "Oh, I'm dead," and then I'd lay there and then just be dead against like random bits of furniture, or like passed out on the ground pretending I was dead with the angels, like just laying on the ground. I was just having a good time in the set, and they were loving it. So yeah, I wish they showed me playing dead around the set, because there was one bit where Spanky and Queen walked in, and I'm like in just stockings and like half undressed laying on the table. And they were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm dead." I don't know. It's stupid but fun. I enjoyed that.
I think that kind of describes your drag. A little bit stupid but fun.
Yeah, it's me. It's a little bit stupid but fun.
Not stupid in the sense of, stupid in the sense of like, campy and silly.
Yeah. Oh, God, life's too short to be too serious. I'd like to just have a good old laugh. And I do love making people laugh. That's my favourite thing to do.
Yeah. You could tell you were the entertainer in chief. You were that kind of person.
Anything for a laugh.
Yeah, anything. That's the attitude you've got to have. Well, thank you so much for that. I'd love to get onto some subscriber questions. If I
yes,
may.
babes. Yes.
Quite a few of the questions were about your lips.
Oh, yeah.
So I was wondering if you could kind of talk a little about the lips.
Yeah, well, so I have been getting lip filler now for like maybe 4 years, 5 years. No, it's probably 6 years. And I like used to have really sort of thin lips, and I was fine with it. It didn't bother me, but it was when I went to Bali for Vanity, Wigs by Vanity, for her birthday. She was like, "We're all going to go get cosmetic procedures. You should come." And I was like, "Okay, I want some more lips." So I went with them. I got my lips done, and I was like, I kind of liked the way that it felt, but they weren't. I wanted more. I was addicted. And so I have just kept going back and topping them up. And now they're like, quite large. I've been banned once because I had too much in there and they had to wait for it to go down. Someone tried to tell me that I should dissolve them, and I said, no, absolutely not. You will not dissolve these beautiful babies. Because you have to make sure as well that they're like, they don't go dead. Like there's, if they don't get colour back in them when you press on your lips and they don't go back to being red, then there's no blood circulation. So you have to keep an eye on that. But, yeah, I just like it. I like the way it looks. In drag and out of drag. I think it makes my face look a little bit more full. And I've got quite a round face, so I like to have that, like, I don't know, it's just something I enjoy.
Well, because I think obviously it was noticeable, especially when you're not in drag, because I think when you're in drag and you've got the lipstick on, you don't quite notice it as much, but obviously out of drag, you notice it. And I noticed recently you were doing a promo thing for the three finalists you were doing, and you were eating. And you made a joke and you were like, "Can I have a fork, please? Because I've got 2 balloons on my face." Is that something that happens all the time?
Yeah, because they're like, so because they're quite big, my lips actually can touch my nose. So if I open my mouth too wide to eat, like my lips will be on the nose. And, when you're doing a whole day of press, you don't want your lipstick to be on your nose. Like, it's not the ideal place for lipstick. It's not called nose stick, it's called lipstick. So, yeah, so I have to, I was like, I'm not going to be munching like those two hoe bags, you know, eating the KFC, I am going to be delicately eating with a fork because I knew we had like 10 other interviews that day. So I was just being conscious. I was just thinking ahead.
It was very Queen behaviour, not Queen Kong, Queen as in, you know,
a regal. Yeah.
regal. That's the word, regal.
Yeah.
One of the other questions was, would you consider that you kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier? Would you consider doing an All Stars season?
100%. Absolutely. I feel like I would love to go back. I loved the experience. I'd love to meet a new, you know, sisterhood. They're going to have to work really hard to rival Queen and Spanky, but I would definitely go back. I think now knowing the process and knowing how it works, I think I'd be more relaxed going into it. I think that's kind of, you know, natural with a lot of people that do All Stars and stuff like that. You're very much aware of how it all works. So I wouldn't have, you know, my quiet days. I think that's kind of what held me back a little bit at the start, is that I was very reserved, where I just wouldn't care, you know, or try and, you know, be anyone but me. I'd just go straight in and just have a good time. But yeah, 10 out of 10. I'd do a Versus the World. I'd do a All Stars. I'd go back. I'd even come to the UK and do the UK. I'd re-audition.
I'm sure we'd love to see you on an All Stars or whatever form it is. We would love to see you, and I can totally see you being in a one in the future. So let's cross our fingers.
Yes.
Someone said, someone was talking about, obviously your fashion was always super polished. That's what you were described always as, being super polished. Someone asked, what are your no-goes in drag, makeup and fashion in order to look as super polished as you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, you know what the thing is? I think it's been a lot of trial and error for me. I try everything, and because I've tried a lot over 13 years, I know what looks good on me and I know what doesn't. And I think so. My no-go would be to limit yourself early on in your drag experience. Try everything, because you never know what's going to work for you and what you might like. Because I think why it works for me is that they're things that I love, they're styles and references that I enjoy, and they're things that I feel sexy and comfortable in. And I think that's when you start finding what works for you, is that, you know, you feel comfortable, you feel confident, you feel sexy, and you know when you feel confident and fabulous because you feel it. And like that's how I felt the whole time throughout the show. The only one that I was unsure about was the moth. I felt that was going to be a little bit too oversized and a little bit too top heavy. And every time I tried it on and in the hotel, I've got a photo, I'll send it to you so you can put it here, of me in the hotel with just no face, just the moth costume. I was like, oh, this looks awful. But once it was in drag and you hold yourself differently, that's when I kind of was like, okay, I can feel this. So yeah, I think it's also about the confidence. But actually, I have one more no-go. Do not go on stage without an earring. I can't. You need to have an earring. I don't know if that's the Sydney showgirl in me or, like, I've just been raised, you always have an earring. Always.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Always an earring.
Yeah. Always have a nice statement.
Well, yeah, I mean, yours are obviously so petite and understated, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted a small earring for the evening.
Anyway, but you always were very polished. I really liked your moth look. I thought it was one of your best looks, actually. I really enjoyed it. It was very unusual and sort of, but also glamorous. And I really loved that. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it came together. That's what I'm saying, is that you just never know. But so always, like, try it and give it a go. And if you feel like something needs tweaking, just tweak it, because you'll feel better about it in the long run. And that's what I felt with the moth.
Yeah, it was. I loved that, and you hold yourself different, like you said, and it's different when you're in drag as opposed to when you're in your hotel room with no face on. And
yeah, it's so funny.
Someone else asked, which Down Under queens would you like to see on season 3? So a queen that hasn't yet been on Drag Race, but you would like to see on Drag Race from Down Under.
Oh my god. Okay. Oh my God, there's so many, honestly. There's so many talented human beings down here. It's outrageous. But I have to say, Charisma Bell and Carmen Get It, my two sisters here in Sydney that I work a lot with, they need to be on the show. There's another queen called Vibe. She needs to be on the show. From Perth, Barbecue. She'd be sensational on the show. And they're my friends and I'm very close with them. So if I didn't say them, they'd be held to pay. But there are so many talented queens. There's a queen in Brisbane. Her name's Chocolate Box. She's amazing. She's freaking fabulous. She needs to be on. There's a queen called Cerulean in Melbourne. She's heavenly. We love her. She needs to be on. Chef Miss J from Melbourne is absolutely hysterical. Would love her. Wounds from Adelaide. Would love her. Honestly, just everybody should just go follow all the drag queens from down under because they're electric. Oh my God! In New Zealand, there's Medulla. She's incredible. If we wanted like drag legends, Testicle would be incredible. These are just So go Google these people because they're absolute superstars.
I'll try and find them all and put them up on screen so people can find them.
Yeah, I could keep going, babes. Honestly.
Well, thank you so much. I'd love to get on to my quick fire questions. It's just 5 questions.
Rapid fire. Okay, yes.
Rapid fire. Some of them are about drag, some of them are not.
Okay.
So it's just 5 questions, top of your head, like the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
So, lipstick or lip gloss?
Lip gloss.
Yes or no, pineapple on pizza?
Yes. Love it.
Favorite emoji?
Oh, it's the love heart, the pink one with the stars on it, like the sparkles.
Cocktail or champagne?
Cocktail. Because I had a really tough night. We went and saw Todrick Hall and I had some champagnes and I realised it's not great.
And can you summarise your experience on Drag Race in one word?
Oh, insanity. Insanity, wild. Oh, that's 2 words. Oh, sorry, Matt.
Insanity/wild. Thank you so much. It was so lovely to get to speak to you. Thank you so much for being on my channel. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you and what's your, so if you've got any sort of projects coming up that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram at Hanaconda Official. I am on TikTok. I've just got TikTok and I love it. I'm having a good time on TikTok. And again, Hanaconda Official on there. I don't mess with Twitter. That is a cesspool. No way. No, never going there. So yeah, TikTok and Instagram is where you'll find me. Upcoming projects. I'm actually going to be in the UK on November the 18th. I'm going to be at GAY Heaven, and I'm going to be doing a little show there, so that's going to be fun. I'm just doing the Down Under tour at the moment, which is, when does this go out, Matt?
Whenever I have time to edit it.
Okay, so I won't put dates on that then. So yeah, you'll just catch me around. I will be popping up new things, and keep an eye peeled because the Babs are coming.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on my channel. I've loved speaking to you, and I really do hope we will see you on an All Stars or in any other form. We just want more Hanaconda.
Oh, thank you, Matt. And I honestly appreciate you having me and having the other girls on here because it's just so lovely to, for the world to get to know us a little bit better. So thank you, and you're a gem, and I can't wait to meet you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you. And you're very welcome. And I would love to see you. So we'll try and connect when you're in London.
Yeah, that would be amazing, darling. That would be absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, Matt. Mwah.